We had a great time visiting Namibia. It was our first visit outside South Africa with our truck Trokkie. The Caprivi strip was the last part of Namibia we visited. This narrow strip of Namibian soil forms the northern boundary of Botswana. Now, while we were there and just before our 3-month Namibian visa expired, we took the decision to go south to visit Botswana. We heard and read a lot about the Okavango Delta, where the Okavango River ends up into vast open savanna land, not into a sea. I therefore expected most of the roads there to be muddy or in dry season sandy. Driving a 12-ton vehicle on muddy roads, that was going to be something new for me. So we were very anxious to visit Botswana. I didn't expect northern Botswana to be very much different from the Caprivi strip, a border drawn up roughly 100 years ago, far away from Africa, in a European office by some Germans and British people, will not stop elephants, not the flow of a river and not the wind. And as you can see in the previous episodes of our blog, plenty of wildlife on the Namibian side of the border. For our COVID-19 test required to cross the border, we had to be in Katima Mulilo in the eastern corner of the Caprivi strip. We, however, wanted to take the route as indicated here, starting on the western side of the strip. We wanted to take this route because wildlife from the Kaudum National Park in Namibia can enter Botswana without obstructions. We tried to visit that park in Namibia with our truck, but as you can see here, we realized very early that the road to the park wasn't suitable for our truck. So we hope to see a lot of game crossing our chosen route between the Caprivi strip and the Okavango Delta. The border crossing into Botswana went, except for a request for a bribe on the Namibian side, extremely smooth. We arrived at the Botswana border post 5 minutes before they closed, and we were processed in less than those 5 minutes. Road taxes and insurances were only a few hundred pulas. And when you research pula on the web, we do not refer to raindrops, but to the currency of Botswana. I don't think you can call this still a tar road, but rather a succession of potholes surrounded by some tar. After a few kilometers, we saw this strange looking bridge. As it was already quite late, we decided first to look for a camp spot. The day after, we went back to find the bridge. As the bridge was still under construction, we could only reach the bridge with the ferry across the river. It was the first time Trokkie drove onto a ferry. Smooth sailing. Trokkie didn't become seasick. The ferry rattled a bit under the weight of the truck when we left. Construction works at the bridge were finished, but the access road was still under construction. When I stopped to take some pictures, a laborer came running to me, hands stretched out and shouting that it was illegal to take pictures of the bridge. Yeah. As a retired civil engineer who designed a few bridges, I must say that this was indeed a beautiful bridge. Towers looked like elephant tusks. A bit further, we were stopped by 3 policemen. Very polite, just asking for our travel plans and for my driver's license. And then, nothing more than a friendly, safe travels. Didn't expect it at all. On the way back to the ferry, we noticed these kids loading a wooden dugout canoe with sand. No cart with wheels, just a canoe pulled by 2 oxen. Back to the other side of the river. Safety of pedestrians on this ferry wasn't a concern here. Driving on the verge was more comfortable than driving on the road itself. The potholes were really deep here. We noticed on the map that there was nearby a World Heritage Site, the Tsodilo Hills, so we took the turn off towards that site. We saw some elephant dung on the road, but no alleys. At the entrance gate of the World Heritage Site, we paid our entrance fees. After driving a few kilometers, we came to the campsite and the museum. The museum was just a little structure with a few posters and one clay pot. And someone in uniform told us that we couldn't walk to the rock paintings without paying a guide. The fees of the guide to go and see some of the rock paintings was considerably more than paying the entrance fee to the Louvre Museum in Paris, where we could see a few thousand paintings. And why did we pay entrance money? Just to drive to a place where they charge you a rip-off rate? No thanks. And on the campsite they were playing incredibly loud music, with a bunch of people swarming all over the site. No peace and quiet. Those rates and those circumstances made us decide to make a U-turn. On the way back we saw some beautiful flowers. And we saw our first Botswana giraffe. As it was quite late when we reached the main road again, we parked our truck under a tree and stayed there till the morning. In darkness, nobody wants to drive on this potholed road. So we had a peaceful night and could hear from time to time some wild animals. As the crow flies, our campsite was not far from the delta. But that you will see in our next vlog.